I'm gonna do the 200 pages a day challenge. So I've been seeing this challenge kind of blow up a little bit on YouTube, and I feel like I could definitely do it. It is a big commitment, and I know for the next week I don't have too much going on, so I feel like this is gonna be the only time I can actually fit this type of challenge in, so that way I can be smart about it and not have to like burn myself out on reading. So we're gonna try it out. So I'm gonna be doing 200 pages. I'm gonna read 200 pages a day for a week. So 7 days, 200 pages a day. It's definitely doable. It's summertime and I have a lot of time this week to read, so it's definitely doable. I'm gonna do it. Plus, I also just started The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. So this is the second book after Serpent and the Wings of Night. And it's a chunky book. Like, it's chunky. So I got to page 120 yesterday, which is nice. That's convenient. It's easy for me to know. I already marked ahead of time, so page 320. So I'm going to be reading this much today. And we'll see how it goes. I feel like as long as I read 100 pages in the morning and then do 100 at night, I definitely could do it. I just have to split it up. 200 pages in one sitting, I'm gonna feel very unproductive if I do that. So I'm gonna try to split it up the best I can, and we'll see how it goes. I'll try to add some snippets of me giving my opinion on these books, especially if I finish a book. I'll tell you how I feel about it, but for the most part, this video is literally just gonna be me reading. Yeah, you might see some struggles. Yeah, I might have a mental breakdown towards the end of this week, but that's okay. I'm gonna go in with positive thinking, and I think I can trick myself into believing that I can do this. Let's see how it goes. I just finished reading 100 pages, so I'm 100 pages in, have 100 more to do today. I think I'm gonna take a break. It's like 11:50, so I think I'm gonna eat some lunch, maybe edit a video, and then jump back in. Hi guys, so it's the next day. Yesterday was successful. I continued reading The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent yesterday, and I feel like it worked out really well. I read about 100 pages in the morning, and then it started raining, so I had to go back inside. But then did a little editing around lunchtime, so I took a quick break from reading, and then I read the next 100 pages. I actually read over 200, which I'm really thankful I did, because I'm at a good part in the book. I'm about this far through, so I'm actually on page 368, and I was supposed to go to 320. So it's good. I really want to finish this book today. It goes to page 600, so it's definitely doable. I think I just need to keep reading and keep going. And it's always easy once you get to that last chunk of the book. I mean, all the action, or at least most of the action, happens towards the end. And I know that this is not going to end on a cliffhanger. Like, it'll wrap up, because this was just a duology and this is the second book. So really excited to see where this book goes. I'm really enjoying it so far. I like how it's still enemies to lovers, even though that was what it was in the first book. You know, they like to do that. I feel like authors they like to make the main characters hate each other again, but then they come back and then they love each other again. So I'm really excited to see where this book goes. I'll give updates once I get there, but yeah, so my goal for today, 200, maybe 232, I think, if that math checks out. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. And the Star-Cursed King last night. It was so good. I want to give my thoughts. Honestly, it gave me Fourth Wing vibes in that when I finished it, I felt kind of brain dead once again, which is fine. I love feeling brain dead after reading a good book. I mean, was it even a good book if you don't feel that way? But anyways, so I finished it by rating. I don't think I rated the first two books, so The Serpent and the Wings of Night, or Six Scorched Roses, which is the little novella in between the two books. So I feel like I need to explain my rating for those before I explain my rating for the last one. So when I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, the first book, I think I rated it a 4.5, I think, 4.5. I really enjoyed it. There were a couple things that I would have tweaked in the book. That's why I didn't give it the full 5 stars. Like, I didn't feel like when I read Fourth Wing, or like when I read the Throne of Glass series, or like certain big series like that fantasy series, I didn't have the same feeling after finishing it like I did in those books, but it was still really good. Like, it was a solid fantasy read for me. I really enjoyed Carissa Broadbent's writing in that book. I thought she did an excellent job just like getting to the point. I felt like it was very fast-paced, and it definitely did remind me of Hunger Games in that aspect with the different trials that Arya had to go through. But it was just really good. I just don't think I can give it the full 5 stars just because it's got to give me that feeling. I have to immediately know after I read it, it's a 5 stars. And if I don't have that feeling, then it's going to be in a high 4-star read. Now for Six Scorched Roses, the novella, I think I rated that just like a solid 4 stars. It was really good. I did enjoy seeing Vale and Lilith's storyline. I liked getting kind of that backstory on them, and also kind of getting a look into the other gods that were in this universe. So not just Nyaxia, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she's the goddess of death, and she's like their goddess, like the vampires goddess, because she created them. But it was nice getting a look into a different god or goddess in the same universe, because they kind of mention them, but you also don't get to really see them. So I liked seeing that, and I liked their storyline. I think Carissa Broadbent did a really good job fitting in enough detail and enough like conversation in times where Vale and Lilith were able to bond to where it was believable that they did end up falling for each other. And it kind of gave me Beauty and the Beast vibes. So I don't know if other people are saying that. I just thought it was really good, and I'm glad I read it before going into The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, because I feel like if I went straight into this and I saw Vale and Lilith, I would have a lot of questions. But since I read that novella before I read this, I didn't really have any questions about them. I understood exactly who they were, and I knew that they were going to be really loyal and really good characters, like side characters for Oriah and Rain in this final book. The Ashes and the Starcursed King, I'm going to rate it a 4.75. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Had a lot of politics, so that means, you know, it's during a war. There's a lot of war things happening, and like, you know, just a lot of government type things, like coming to power, trying to become king and queen, like that kind of thing. That's all politics based. So that's what this book was mainly about. It was a lot of politics, a lot of war, and just trying to figure out what's going to happen with this world that they're living in, who's going to run it, and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was really good. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I enjoy the politics-based books, kind of like with Akimov, or no, Akawar, I think. Yeah. So that book has a lot of politics in it as well, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that when I read that, and I enjoyed it in this book. This was, I must say, this was a fat book. When I was reading it, I didn't realize how thick it was going to be when I started it. It's 600 pages. Like, on the dot, 600 pages, which I'm here for. I love a good thick book because that means it's more I get to read. But I thought that she did a really good job in this book, kind of splitting it up to where I didn't feel bored at any point. I think the most boring part was literally the first 20 pages, and even then, those weren't really that boring. So that was just kind of getting in, like, kind of giving you backstory, like re-explaining a couple things that happened, and you're seeing that certain characters have trauma that they're working through and all that. So that was probably the most boring part, but even then it was very short-lived and it got right into the action after that. So that's why I'm giving it a 4.75. After I finished it, I did have that kind of brain dead feeling that I had when I read Fourth Wing, and I'm glad I finished it late at night, so I didn't feel pressured to start another book. And I also finished my 200 pages. I read, I think, 230 pages was what I ended up reading yesterday to finish it. I mean, it ended in a way, though. It did end in a way where kind of a cliffhanger, but not really. It was like foreshadowing to what could happen if she did a spin-off series. And then I didn't realize that this was going to have more in this series. I Googled it last night, and she said it's going to be 3 duologies. So just like how this was a duology, there's going to be 2 more duologies. So it's going to be a 6-book series. And that's not including if she includes novellas in between the big books. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if she's going to stick with Rain and Oriah. I feel like they already said everything that they could say about these 2 characters. So it sounds like they'll move on to 2 new characters for the next duology, and then another 2 characters for the last duology. But I'm really wondering who it's going to be about. I kind of hope it's, honestly, I don't even know. I don't know who it would be about, but I'm excited. I saw that there was no scheduled book in place, so I don't even know if she started writing the next book. So it's going to be a while before I get to continue on with this universe, but it was really good. I did enjoy it. And then I decided I wanted to kind of jump back into like a romance book because I've been reading a lot of fantasy lately and I don't want to get burnt out. So I decided to pick up Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is going to be what I read next, and I already got my bookmark set for the 200 page mark for today, and I think I'm on page 5. But I'm really excited about this book. I really love Abby Jimenez's writing. Her Life's Too Short. I loved that book. I haven't really read any other books. Like, I know there's The Friend Zone, and I think there's another book too. But I'm excited to read this, and then after this book, I am planning on reading Yours Truly, so you'll probably see that in this video at some point. But yeah, I'm really excited to get back into a romance. I just need something lighthearted. After reading these really thick, heavy fantasy books, this is going to feel like a breeze, I feel like. So I'm really excited to do this, and I will keep you guys updated. I might not hit the 200 page mark today. I went on a walk and went shopping and got my nose pierced today with my friends. So I was gone for a long time, and I have plans later with my friends. I've only read 62 pages. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying my best to read quickly, but I don't know. The book's really good so far. I really like the two main characters, so I'm hoping that'll make it feel quicker than it is, but we'll see. The past 2 days have not been great recording days for me. I have been reading. I've been doing the 200 pages. I've kept up with it. I think I started last Wednesday, and I've been doing the 200 pages every single day. It's now Monday, but I didn't record a lot this weekend just because my cat's not doing well. So been trying to take care of her and just keep an eye on her, and I just haven't been in the mood to record just because I've been really sad seeing her because she's very old. But I do want to give an update on what books I've read and what my thoughts were. So I did finish Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I think I showed a quick clip of me pushing this aside and then grabbing my next book just so that way you knew, just so I could record something, so that way you knew what book I was reading and if I had finished this or not. This book, I really enjoyed it. I really love Abby Jimenez's writing. She just does such a good job. All of her romance novels, I feel like she does a good job of giving her characters a lot of depth. So they have like other problems besides just whatever romance is going on. Like there's always some sort of conflict that's actually realistic. And I do know that she takes a lot of her serious topics in these books she takes from her own life. So it just kind of, to me, speaks volumes. I feel like it's very personal and deep, and it feels like a really good, well-rounded romance novel. It's not just about the romance. There's actually other conflicts in the characters' lives that's keeping them apart, or that's just making their lives so much harder than they need to be. So I really did like this book. I think I rated it like I'm gonna say a 4 stars. 4 stars for this one. I think it was just a solid romance read. I would read it again, I think, in the future, as long as I have had some time away from it. I think I would reread it. But yeah, it was just really good. I loved the two main characters. So it was about Alexis and Daniel. Alexis is this big city girl. She's a doctor. She's very wealthy. She comes from a very wealthy family who's had a lot of privilege, and they're very well known. And it's kind of like that whole, you need to make sure you are continuing our family legacy and you need to follow in our footsteps. So she has all of this pressure from her parents, from her family, as well as some of her friends too, because they all live in that same kind of world where they just expect a lot and she has to live up to it. And then Daniel is from this small town, I think about 2 hours from her city where she lives. And he is the mayor of the town. And when I say mayor, don't take it as like, oh, he's a super wealthy dude. He's not. This town, it's really just mayor and title only. He does do all the things that a mayor would do, but it's not like a pay raise. He actually runs an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast. So his family owns this really large estate that he kind of manages, and he takes care of it. He does all the upkeep, and he will bring in guests to rent it out and everything. So that's how he makes his income. And he's also a carpenter, a really talented one. So it's just interesting seeing their two different lives throughout the book. It is dual point of view. So if you like seeing the guy's perspective, then you will enjoy this book. I really liked seeing the struggle Alexis was going through, because anytime she'd go to visit Daniel, you could tell that she really just enjoyed her time with him. It was kind of like the vacation she always needed, where there's no like super hard pressure on her shoulders. She's just living her life and enjoying her time with Daniel. And I thought their chemistry was really great. I didn't give it 5 stars just because I think the type of romance it was kind of like almost like love at first sight. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like it whenever the characters immediately are just like head over heels for each other. I like it when they have to work up to that point and like get to know each other and
whether it be from enemies to lovers or friends to lovers. I don't know. I think I just like that better because it feels more realistic and just deeper. I don't know. I did like how their relationship was. You got to see a lot of their conversations and you could tell that they just really understood one another, and I did like that. But I just think that it just felt like they just liked each other too quickly, which kind of had to go that way for the plot of the book. The fact that she lives 2 hours away and needed to be able to come and visit him. So it made sense. But at the same time, I'm just like, why? And it ended about how I expected it would. I did get kind of frustrated at Alexis at some points just because it seemed like the answer was so obvious to this huge conflict she had. I just felt like it was so obvious what she should do, and she just took so long to get to that point. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. 4 stars, still a solid read. Love Abby Jimenez. And that leads us into the next book that I read. I started and finished Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is her most recent release. And what I really liked about this book is it stays within the same universe, which all of her books are in the same universe. They do mention, what's her name? Vanessa Price from Life's Too Short. They mention her in this book. And I think even in Part of Your World, they mention her too. This book was about Alexis's best friend, Brianna. And so she's a doctor as well. And in this story, it goes over Brianna's life, and her brother is going through renal failure. So he's on dialysis and he needs a kidney transplant. And so it's just like, that's kind of like her huge undertaking. She has this huge weight on her shoulders because she's taking care of her younger brother and trying to help him. She's feeling very helpless. She's newly divorced. She went through a really bad divorce with her husband where he cheated on her with one of her friends. So she already has like this huge trauma and a lot of baggage. But then she meets Jacob, and he's a brand new doctor at her hospital. And I really liked Jacob in this book because you get to see, once again, it's dual point of view, so you get to see his perspective, and he has anxiety, like really bad, like he takes medication for it. So I really liked seeing his perspective because I felt like any girl who overthinks, that's exactly what I was reading. He just overthought everything, and I thought it was kind of unrealistic because I mean, I know guys get anxiety, but the things he was thinking of, I don't know, it kind of felt like maybe it was a little too far-fetched. I don't know if it's because a lot of authors just talk about girls with anxiety, or people in general just don't talk about guys having anxiety. But I did like seeing that kind of viewpoint and getting to see his thoughts on stuff and just seeing how much he cared for Alexis. I definitely liked this one more than Part of Your World. I think I would rate this a 4.5. 4.25. I'm not going to give it 4.5 just because I feel like there were still some areas that I would change in this book. But I really liked their romance. I liked their relationship in this one a whole lot more than Part of Your World, mainly because in this one, it felt deeper. Like you could tell that they had that deeper connection, and it wasn't because they were sleeping together. It was because they started as friends, and I really liked that. And it was just really sweet. There were so many parts in here that I was just like internally crying because it's just so sweet. And I know it's not realistic. This would never happen, but it was really good. And I enjoyed reading it. And then I'm starting Honestly, I'm Totally Faking It by Aunt Amanda Gamble. I've never read any books by this author, but it just looks really cute. So I'm excited to read it. It looks like it's kind of a short, quick read, but I'm hoping I can finish this before the 200-page challenge is over because I would like to be able to loop it or group it in with the rest of the books that I've read. But I'm really excited. So this is what I'm going to continue on with today. So we have come to the end of the 200 pages a day reading challenge. It has officially been 1 week since I started this challenge, and I have to say I feel like I did pretty good. There were some rough spots thrown in throughout the week for sure, but overall I was able to read a lot of books, which was nice, and also get to kind of just get into that routine of
you know, trying to block out some time in the morning and then block out some time in the evening to read my books, but also stay productive throughout the day because I had a lot of stuff going on this week. But I do want to just wrap it up and just summarize everything that I read this past week. So the first book that I read was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I think I rated this a either 4.5 or 4.75. I can't remember. But I do remember I really enjoyed this book. And I just thought it was just very fast-paced and it was very enjoyable. I really liked the story and these characters. So, really good start to the week. And then I did read 2 books by Abby Jimenez. I read Part of Your World and then I read Yours Truly. And both of them I thought ranked pretty high up on the scale for me as well. I think Part of Your World I gave 4 stars, I believe. And then Yours Truly I gave a 4.25 or 4.5. I can't remember what I said for either of them. But I did enjoy both of these. They're both in the same universe. So the characters that were in this book were also like side characters in this book. So I read this one first and then this one. And they both were very good. I ranked this one just a little bit higher just because I liked the romance, the relationship in this one better. I thought it was more realistic and I just thought it was more sweet and genuine compared to this one because this was more friends to lovers instead of just instant love like in this one. And then I finished up the week reading Honestly, I'm Totally Faking It by Amanda Gamble. This is the first book I read by this author and I must say it was a sweet read. I think that my final rating for this book would probably be like a 3.5 maybe. I wouldn't give it a full 4 stars just because it was very cheesy and honestly, cheesiness doesn't bother me, but it was like overly cheesy. It almost felt like it was a YA romance, but it did have some like spicy scenes in it, so it was new adult, but it felt like just the conversations that the 2 characters had were very much immature at some parts. I don't know. It was sweet. I liked the concept and I liked the idea. It was like a fake dating trope and it was about like he's running for mayor of his city or whatever and she's his fake girlfriend because of the PR. It was good, but I do think there were some spots that could have been better just to make it a stronger story. But so I'm gonna rank this a 3.5. It wasn't my favorite, but it also wasn't my least favorite. I did think it was sweet. The characters had some really nice moments in the book, had some really sweet moments and conversations, which I did like. And I felt like they actually did dive deeper into each other's relationship or into each other's personalities and why they were the way they were and like worked through a lot of just past trauma and stuff like that. But overall, 3.5. I think I need to look up Amanda Gamble and see what other books she has written or if this is the first book by her. I have no clue, honestly. But I do want to look into her books and see if maybe she has some YA fiction. I feel like if it was meant to be YA, then I would have liked it more. But since it was new adult, that's why it just didn't really hit for me like it could. But yeah, so that was the last book I read this week. Overall, I was able to read 4 books, 1 fantasy and 3 romance, and I'm honestly wanting to get back into fantasy because after I finished The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent, I've been in that fantasy mood, but I really wanted to read these and get them off my shelf, so that's why I switched over to romance. But I think I'm going to go back into fantasy and do that from here on out until I get tired of it. But honestly, it was a good week. I definitely think 200 pages is doable. It is challenging though, especially if you have a very full schedule. I'm lucky because I have a lot of time off in the summer, so I have the time to do this. But I feel like if I was working full time like I normally would, this would not be realistic for me at all. Yeah, so if you're the type of person who has a full-time job, then this probably isn't the challenge for you. But if you have a lot of time off, then do it. It's fun, get to read a lot of books and kind of forces you to read too, which is also nice. It gives you that incentive because you're trying to hit a goal. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I didn't film a lot of clips for like the last couple of days, and that's just because I had a lot going on in my personal life, so I wasn't able to or didn't really feel like getting a camera out. But I'm glad I was able to wrap it up and actually officially finish the challenge for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, comment. If you've read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts on any of them. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.